I was speaking this weekend at a conference in California to a group of speakers. And someone asked a question of me, even though I was standing in the back of the room listening to someone else's presentation. They got up and asked, do you need a coach to win the World Championship of Public Speaking? Well, let me ask you a question right now. What are you focused on watching this video? See, sometimes we think we're doing great, but a coach will point out the little mistakes that we might not see ourselves because we're too close. I love being a sponge and learning from other people who achieve greatness. I'm never done. And every sports team has a coach, but not just a coach. They have a main coach, a head coach, and they usually have a coach for each of the different positions. In fact, I'm friends with someone who was the nutrition coach for the New England Patriots during the Bill Parcells years. A nutrition coach. I believe you do. Whether it's the World Championship of Public Speaking or becoming the best at whatever it is you do in your industry, in your field, or becoming a world-class speaker, I still believe you need a coach. I didn't realize that all of the previous world champions that I know of have been coached in some way, some format, and many of them by different coaches. And as I said, I love learning from other people, especially in other industries that achieve greatness. And Ron White is one of my favorite comedians. He just cracks me up. But humor is subjective. We all have our own favorites. But I was watching an interview with Jeff Foxworthy, one of the most popular comedians in the world. And he actually happened to be sitting in on Ron White's very first comedy show, his open mic night, so to speak. And he noticed that Ron White was naturally hysterical, as there are thousands of people around. But Jeff Foxworthy said that he pointed out some structure things in Ron's routine that would make it funnier. See, there's a structure behind humor and comedy. In fact, right now I'm preparing for my big launch of Get More Laughs by next week. So I love teaching that part of humor because I didn't realize there were exercises and things that comedians did. I had no idea. I just thought you were funny or you weren't. But Ron White had a coach in Jeff Foxworthy. Now, I want to ask, why would you ask that question? Because I'm led to believe that maybe somebody thinks maybe it costs too much money. Well, it's an investment. It really is. No matter what you want to be the best at, it requires some coaching. You can't become great alone. We must constantly be trying to improve. I love the fact that Craig Valentine, the 1999 world champion of public speaking, one of my best friends, the first thing he did when he got off the plane from winning was went and got a book on how to be a better speaker. I love that mindset. He inspires me. And 2 years after he won, he went and spent 2 days being coached by Patricia Fripp. She is not cheap, but it was an unbelievable investment. It increased his reschedule rate, his rehire rate phenomenally. In 1 or 2 speeches, he got his money back, and now it's paying dividends for years and years to come. So, is it the investment that somebody wonders about? Is it worth the time or investment? Absolutely, no matter what. Now, there are many different coaches, but I believe we need to be coached by someone who is not just a coach, but someone who's better than us, someone who's coaching for a while, someone who has the experience of coaching. Because it's one thing to be a great speaker, and it's a completely different thing to be a great speaking coach. It took me several years to do coaching before I felt comfortable enough to actually receive money for that. And I've also put together a program called the World Champions Edge, you may have heard of, where we actually have a community of people who are serious. They get together and they coach each other as well as get feedback from some of the world champions. In fact, last year out of the 10 finalists in the World Championship, 3 of our members made it all the way to the finals. In fact, Mary Sheen, who came in second in the world, she had been an Edge member for years. So it wasn't necessarily just our help. It was her attitude and her ability to try and learn and learn the tools and techniques that she needed to take her speaking and take it to a completely different level. Each year she got better and better and better. And I don't for a second want to take the credit from that. She did get guidance from us, but she's the one who did the work, and she sought out coaches of all different levels. She actually got feedback from several world champions on her speech as she went up the ladder. You know, and I believe that you need a coach, but not just a coach. I believe you need a great coach. Because a mediocre coach or an average coach can actually hurt you or reinforce bad habits. So make sure when you choose a coach, you find someone who understands you and doesn't try to put their style on you. Because sometimes you can see people and know who they've been coached by just by their actions and their movements and how they do things. A true coach will pull out of you who you are to let you express in your way. I remember when I had won the 5th level of the championship, and my coach David McElhaney had brought me all that way. But then he introduced me to Mark Brown, the 95 world champion of public speaking. Well, I handed Mark my speech. Based on Mark's advice, I had written it out, followed his instructions to the T, and I handed him what I thought was the greatest speech ever. And you know what? It was the greatest speech I could write at that point. I handed it to Mark, and Mark, if you don't know Mark, he's 6'2", Jamaican, has a heart of gold, and has a laugh like the guy from the 7-Up commercial. Well, Mark took my speech and looked it over. Oh, Darren, we have some work to do. I will always remember those words, because in my mind it was the best speech I could write for the level that I was at. But Mark understood things and techniques and pulled out of me things that I didn't know, things that I had to learn. And I still continue to learn from Mark Brown, Patricia Fripp, Craig Valentine, and Ed Tate. I let them coach me because they help make me better. A couple of years ago, this cracked me up so much, a contestant, someone who had been all the way to the World Championship before, had asked me if he makes it to the World Championship, would I help him and take a look at his speech? And I said, don't you want me to look at it now? Or the district speech? Or the regional speech? And he said, no, I'm fine. You're fine? Just because you've achieved a level, there are many people who went all the way and the next year didn't even make it out of their club. And I knew where his attitude was at. And I think he was not a sponge, and he didn't make it all the way the next year. Because what I tried to explain to him, that you're never done. And that just because you've reached the world-class level, if you have that overconfident attitude, the audience can sense that. And I tried to explain to him that right now, there's someone out there that's half as good, getting coached, and working twice as hard. So, do you need a coach? Absolutely. And I've been told by some people who want to come to our coaching boot camps, and they say, well, I wasn't sure because you guys intimidate me. Intimidate? That's their perspective. Mark Brown never intimidated me. In fact, when I met the world champions and when I spoke to them on the phone or got emails from them, I realized they were some of the most gracious, encouraging people I've ever met. A coach's goal is not to cut you down. It's to pull you apart in order to build you back up, to reach a level that you've never reached before. Get a coach, but not just a coach. Get a great coach.